If you want your query letter critiqued but you do not want to pay for it, you can get it done for free. The caveat is it will be public on my socials. My name is Gina. I'm an author, editor, publishing professional. I help you make your writing better. Couple of things to get out of the way before we get started. I am starting to really get backlogged on these. You can definitely keep submitting in my bio, but it's going to take a while to work through them. All there is a real life person on the other side of this query letter, so we are being constructive, not destructive. Everybody is here to learn. We are not mocking, we are not making fun. None of that behavior is going to be tolerated. Lastly, this person is choosing to query. They are choosing to pursue traditional publication. Please do not jump into the comments and tell them to just self-publish, because one, self-publishing is not a just sort of a thing. It is a valid career path, and we're not going to treat it like it is a throwaway thought that you're going to have. And then secondly, this person is a grown-up person. They have made their own choices about their career, and you should do the same. I'm not going to tell them to tell you to change your career path. You should let them make their own choices. Thanks. All right, let's dive in. First of all, I know right off the bat that I'm going to get comments from people saying that this one feels really long. It is on the longish side. It's like 472 words, so it is still within the realm of reasonable, but just like we know it's not actually that long. All right, Whispers of Dragonblood, a 97,000 word adult dark fantasy romance novel that follows Silver, the female version of Jack Sparrow, sands the boat, plus a stalker entity who is a runaway slave and the last of her kind, hiding in plain sight and gets shot at true freedom if she enters the forest filled with wyverns and their riders. That is a really long sentence. Query letters often get skimmed at least the first time that people read through them, because agents will receive sometimes up to 50 query letters in a single day. There simply is not time to sit and carefully read over every single sentence. So they're going to skim through it and be like, oh boy, this feels hard. I'm not going to keep reading. So your job is to make it as easy as possible for them. And before somebody comes in here being like, agents can't read that, no, they can. They're just, you are up against a whole bunch of people who made it very easy for them. So if you want to continue to stand out in the slush pile in a good way, you're going to have to do the same thing. Now, this all sounds really cool and fun, but it is just way too long of a sentence. And you are also telling us the story before you tell us the story. So this is not a good use of space. I would just cut most of this. So maybe we have the title metadata here, follows female version of Jack Sparrow, sands the boat plus a stalker entity. Boom. That's where I would stop that. That's your hook. That's the kind of the cool piece. The rest of this is too much, because now we've got ooh, pirates in our mind, but then all of a sudden we're wyverns, riders, and so we're doing too many other things here. You've got a hook. That's cool. Now, if this turns out to not be a pirate fantasy, that's really misleading, and then I would recommend cutting this whole thing. So let's keep going though. A standalone with serious potential that will resonate with fans of a bunch of self-published books. Self-published books are great for helping to identify who your audience is and identify who the readers that you're trying to reach. But self-published authors are able to set their books either very, very cheap or free for as long as they need to be able to build up an audience. Traditional publishing does not have that luxury. They do not have that function available within the way that they sell books. So if you are saying, hey, these people were able to sell a whole bunch of books, but how many of them were given away for free first? How many of them were sold for 99 cents first? Traditional publishing is not going to see this as an apples to apples comparison. They're going to see it as an apples to oranges comparison and be like, okay, great, there's an audience for this, but can we build up your fan base the same way that these people did? We don't know that, and they're not going to take the time to find out. They're not going to take the time to find out whether or not all of these people sold at a full MSRP style price every single time from the beginning, to find out when there's, again, 49 other people in the slush pile that aren't comparing themselves to self-published authors. Silver is a 28-year-old runaway. We really only include ages for characters if we are doing young adult, because the difference between a 15-year-old and a 16-year-old developmentally is significant. The difference between a 27-year-old and a 29-year-old is not super significant, so we don't need that information in here. She's the last of her kind. There were only two things she wanted in life, vengeance and freedom. Okay, so we've introduced her once, and now we have introduced her again, that there was only two things that she wanted in life. But there were only two things she wanted in life, vengeance, freedom, but never imagining she could have either. So we have some verb tense agreement issues here. She spends most days trying to drown at the bottom of her drink. A present marred by addiction. I think she means the life that she's living right now. So we have bounced between past tense and present tense. She is a drunk. You told us that already with the bottle, that she's a drunk, a thief, a smuggler. So, okay, so she's a runaway slave, a thief, a smuggler who covertly rescues other enslaved women and spends the rest of her time fighting or drinking in the pits and stealing from the rich. That's a lot of information. That is a lot of information that doesn't actually tell us what it is that she wants. We know what she used to want, but we don't know what it is that she wants now. We don't know what she's willing to do to get it. We don't know what stands in her way. We know a whole bunch of character flaws and like some character bonuses, like she's rescuing other women from this same plight. But this is a lot of like character worksheet stuff, but it doesn't actually tell us anything about the stakes of the story. When she accidentally gains a stalker, I know that I think you're trying to be funny here, but I mean, this is placing the blame on the victim, right? Like she gained a stalker. This sounds like she did something to do this. I don't love this language. It's not a deal breaker, but I don't love that. In the form of an entity parading as a ghost, she believes she is slowly losing her mind from living in a kingdom that has haunted her kind into extinction. You've already told us that she's the last of her kind. So we're getting a lot of repetition. We're getting a lot of information that isn't story and that isn't stakes. To add to her worry, she feels drawn to the ghost. Is it her imagination? What could go wrong? When her ghost starts to bend the world around her, she realizes he's not a hallucination, and fright blooms into comfort and desire. She craves his invisible touch more and more. So this is, again, cool and fun, but this isn't stakes. This isn't story. This, at this point, and hear me all the way out on this, because someone's going to get immediately like, she's trying to insult us, and I'm not. I'm just saying this sounds like fan fiction, where it is no plot, just vibes, and people come back for those vibes over and over and over and over again. Like, we love the fan fiction community. We love fan fiction writers. It is a fantastic place to hone your skills. Valid writers, valid form of fandom, valid, like all of those things. Great. Love the fan fiction world. That's what this feels like. This feels like we have constructed a world out of vibes and good times, and we're just going to keep exploring that without there being any forward momentum in the story. She runs into a stranger, literally, who saves her now, so she's forced to save the stranger back because there's only one thing Silver can't resist, and that is a woman in distress. So this is funny, this is cute, who saves her now, so now but this is an incomplete sentence. This is like not grammatically correct. And is she forced to, or is she can't resist it? Is this a character choice? Is this like a literal forced to? Do you see how like the word choice is not being very clear here? Damsel turns out to be a ripped warrior monk from the Order of the Seven. Gives Silver an offer she can't refuse. This is a cliche, and we don't want to have any of that in a query letter. Query letters are so short, and if you can't make it 500 words without using a cliche, what does that say for your 100,000 word novel? Got to help the mysterious woman out of the city and through the forest filled with wyverns and the riders. See, we already mentioned the wyverns and the riders up there. If we have it down here, we don't need it up there. We're getting a lot of repetition throughout this. In exchange for her weight in gold, as well as the runes repressing her magic removed. Reluctantly, she accepts. So which she? We have a couple of she's already in this story. Who's accepting here? But it means leaving the only family she has left behind. We haven't talked about a family here at all, so I don't know what we're referring to. She packs her rum for medicinal purposes, of course, and embarks on a journey filled with monsters where death is the very least of the dangers of being captured, the very worst. She'll go back to change in existence in a cage. Okay, so like we have some really funny voicey pieces. So packs her rum for medicinal purposes, of course. Like, you're funny. You're very good at understanding your voice and what the people are coming to your story for. We got to condense this down. There is just too much happening here, and we have just barely gotten to a story, and I still don't actually know what the story is. Okay, so she doesn't want to go back into chains. She's got dangers out ahead of her when she's presented with another opportunity later as her true nature and destiny is revealed. Oh, we didn't know that there was a hidden destiny or a hidden nature. Like, that is coming just out of nowhere. One she thought even more impossible than freedom, vengeance. Where does the vengeance come from? How is that tied to this? What does any of this have to do with that? Her buried dream made of blood is finally within her grasp. That's a cool phrase, buried dream made of blood. The very freedom she left her family for, will she pay it? So do we have those 5 questions? We know who our character is. Do we know what she wants? Not until the very end. What is she willing to do to get it? Kind of a lot of stuff, but we don't know how that's going to work. What is standing in her way? All of this stuff, but we don't really know how or why. And what happens if she fails? She goes back into captivity. So you've got 3 of the 5 pieces there, but then we're just saying a whole lot of stuff that isn't actually pointing us to the story. Focus up, drill into the actual story and the stakes.